Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host Nikki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got some interesting developments today. I'm starting with news from China about a drug called GS1-144. This is another entry in the neurokinin 3 receptor antagonist category. Think fezolinetant, which got FDA approval a couple years back for hot flashes. But this one's different. Researchers tested GS1-144 in postmenopausal Chinese women dealing with moderate to severe hot flashes and night sweats. The study was a proper randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, published in the journal Menopause. And the results look solid. Women taking GS1-144 had significant reductions in both how often they got hot flashes and how intense those episodes were. What makes this noteworthy is that it's specifically tested in Chinese women. Most menopause drug trials have been heavily skewed toward white women, so having targeted research in different populations actually matters. Genetic variations can affect how people metabolize medications, and cultural factors influence how symptoms are reported and experienced. The safety profile looked good too, well tolerated without major red flags. Now, this is still phase 2 research, so we're probably years away from seeing this hit pharmacy shelves anywhere, if it ever does. But it's another sign that pharmaceutical companies are taking vasomotor symptoms seriously and putting real money behind developing options. The neurokinin pathway seems to be where a lot of the action is happening in hot flash research. These NK3 receptor antagonists work differently than hormone therapy. They target the brain pathways involved in temperature regulation rather than replacing estrogen. For women who can't or won't take hormones, this could eventually mean more choices. Moving from hot flashes to brain fog, researchers are working on evidence-based interventions specifically for the cognitive symptoms that hit during menopause transition. This comes from a mixed method study, also published in Menopause, that looked at what women actually experience and what might help. The cognitive piece of menopause gets less attention than hot flashes, but for many women it's equally disruptive. We are talking about memory issues, trouble concentrating, word-finding problems, the stuff that makes you feel like your brain isn't working the way it used to. This research team is taking a systematic approach to developing interventions. Instead of just throwing general cognitive strategies at the problem, they're studying what specifically happens during menopause transition and designing targeted solutions. The study found that women really do need psychosocial interventions tailored to this life stage, not just generic brain training or stress management. What I find encouraging is that they're treating cognitive symptoms as legitimate medical concerns worth addressing, not just something women should accept or cope with on their own. The researchers are moving toward testing actual interventions, meaning we might eventually have evidence-based protocols that doctors can recommend instead of the current situation where women mostly get told to get more sleep and try meditation. The timing matters too. A lot of cognitive research focuses on postmenopause or much older women, but this is looking at the transition period when symptoms often first appear. Early intervention could make a real difference. The third piece today takes us into territory we rarely talk about: menopause in the military. Researchers did the first comprehensive scoping review of perimenopause and menopause research in military contexts, and what they found was basically a giant knowledge gap. Think about it. Women serving combat roles, work in extreme environments, deal with deployment stress, irregular schedules, limited privacy, and physical demands that most of us never face. How does menopause interact with all of that? We really don't know. The review, published in the same journal, systematically looked at existing research and found very little. The military has detailed protocols for almost everything, but when it comes to menopause, women are largely on their own to figure it out. This matters beyond the military too. These are women in high stress, high performance careers where symptoms like hot flashes, sleep disruption, or cognitive changes could have serious consequences. A hot flash during a mission isn't just uncomfortable, it could be dangerous. Brain fog when you're making split-second decisions isn't just annoying, it could be life-threatening. The researchers identified specific priorities for future research, which suggests this isn't just an academic exercise. They want to develop actual solutions. Military medicine has a track record of innovation that often benefits civilian healthcare later, so this could eventually help women in other demanding careers too. There's also the practical side. Military women often have limited access to healthcare options, especially during deployment. They can't exactly schedule regular doctor visits or pick up prescriptions when they're in remote locations. Understanding how to manage menopause symptoms in these circumstances could inform approaches for other women with limited healthcare access. What strikes me about all three of these studies is that they're filling in specific gaps rather than repeating the same broad research we've seen for years. We're getting more targeted drug development, intervention research that addresses actual symptoms women complain about, and attention to populations that have been overlooked. The military research especially highlights how context matters for menopause. A woman working a desk job in an air-conditioned office has different needs than someone carrying 60 pounds of gear in desert heat. Yet, most menopause research and treatment recommendations assume a pretty narrow set of circumstances. Are we finally getting to a place where menopause research reflects the reality of women's diverse lives and actual symptoms?
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.